All right. Well, welcome to the Beauty Business Strategies podcast. Again, Michael Yost with you today. And I am joined today by Ben Atanga. Ben, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. How you doing, Michael?
I'm doing great. So, as we always do on podcast, is we love to bring you people that have great information. But most of all, I always am drawn to people that have passion. And I'm going to tell you right now, we find no greater passion than talking with Ben. Ben's one of those people that when we first encountered, it just when if you meet Ben in person, it bleeds out of him. And so it's really awesome. And again, I think that's contagious. But he's got some great things that we want to talk about today, and he's got a great business. And anyway, there's a lot of ground we want to cover. So to get into it, Ben, what I would love for you to do is, for those not familiar with you, just give us just a quick introduction of yourself, kind of your background, and again, the business that you have.
Yeah, sure. And I just wanted to say I appreciate this opportunity. Hello, everyone. My name is Ben Atanga, and I'm located in Maryland, in Prince George's County, right outside of DC. And the field that I'm in is in holistic wellness, specifically stretch therapy. I own a business called the Stretch Loft, and we just launched our second location. And I also own another part of business called the Stretch Loft Academy. The Stretch Loft is a holistic wellness business that caters to the release of stored tension, trauma, and energy from the body via stretch therapy and guided breathing. And the Stretch Loft Academy is an academy that trains aspiring stretch practitioners in the field and modality of holistic stretch therapy. So we train them, we certify them, and we mentor them. And so I've got the brick and mortar, which we provide the service, and I have the academy, which we provide the education. We've been around for 4 years. And, I didn't go to school for this. I didn't, my bachelor's is in child psychology. I came into this thing from personal training, from an injury that I had that doctors couldn't figure out. And I met a trainer one day who stretched me. It unlocked my body. I felt alive. And after, I went out and I sought out certifications to learn how to do it. And once I started practicing it, instantly, I started making a difference in people's lives and the way they were feeling and the things they were dealing with. And so I've been able to grow rapidly in this industry. I'm on my second business now. I'm opening up my seventh stretch studio. And in the last 3 years, we've trained over 200 aspiring stretch practitioners who are also inside of this work now with their own businesses. So this is a great opportunity. And I just really
Awesome.
want to share what I do, whether you're looking to come in and receive the service or you're looking to maybe expand on what you're doing. I think that this is something great. And like Michael said, I'm very passionate about.
I love it. I love it. So, Ben, what's interesting to me, you mentioned all the, in that intro, just all the ways that the benefits, right? But talk to me about what's different between, because again, I will freely admit, I do not know, and I don't even pretend that I understand. What will be some of the main differences that you see between, like, if we're talking about stretch therapy and what you do, what's the difference between that and, like, say, massage, or even I would even throw in like other things like maybe even chiropractic services or those kind of things. Where does stretch fit in, and what would you classify as the differences in the different areas?
I think that stretch is an ancient and a hidden modality. And where it fits into holistic care. Like when I embarked on stretch therapy, I had seen three chiropractors, I'd seen multiple physical therapists, I'd seen massage therapy. I had an injury. I dropped the weight on my foot. I didn't break anything, but it caused me to start compensating and put most of the pressure on the right side of my body. And over time, the joints and the muscles on that side ended up locking up, which made it very uncomfortable to sleep, to drive, to move. I visited chiropractors. I visited physical therapy. I was either getting misdiagnosed or they wanted to perform surgery. I'd go to massage therapists, and they would rub the area out, and it would feel great while they're doing it. But by the time I got back to my car, I was still in pain. And so the biggest difference with stretch therapy is that stretch therapy, number one, it does to your muscles what your muscles need. Your muscles contract they contract and release, right? That contracting and releasing helps to for blood to flow, but also for oxygen production, right? Like when you go to a chiropractor may adjust your cervical, your lumbar, and your thoracic spine. And they believe that by adjusting it, that everything will fall into place. That's not necessarily the truth, right? And massage therapy, you go there, if you have a crook in your neck, you're going to go there, they're going to try to massage it out, which is great. But then if you don't stretch it out, then you don't restore the length tension relationship. So the reason why I say that stretch therapy is like a hidden modality is because this is something holistic, it's something natural. We're doing something natural to the body. And when you go through a full body stretch, things tend to realign, right? And when you're realigned, you think better, you sleep better, you're able to process things better, right? In recent years, we've heard about how the body keeps score, like we store everything inside of our bodies. This is one way that you can release it. When you infuse stretching and breath work, like it's just people leave off the table with just like feel like $1 million. You can actually see the energy just kind of just flowing off of them. And so I would say that that's the biggest difference. Yeah.
That's really fascinating. So, what would be like, say, let's say for myself, I'll put myself in this position and say, hey, listen, I recognize the fact that wow, I really am already going, man, I could really use what you do. What would be like, what's a normal if I came into to your business, what's a normal service look like length of time? Is it a 30 minute? Is it 60 minutes in length? And what would be like if I were trying to maintain like all services, like I said, again, my background being a hairdresser, I'm used to saying, hey, listen, I need to go in every 4 weeks, every 6 weeks, every 8 weeks to maintain this. Again, I know being somewhat familiar with chiropractic, they recommend a schedule. Is there a recommended type of maintenance and schedule in stretch? And what does that look like? And again, what's the general service itself look like?
Gotcha. So most likely, if you came in, there's probably something going on, right? Like you're experiencing pain somewhere, you may be experiencing sleeplessness, maybe some anxiety, right? And so every case is a little bit different. You may be experiencing sciatica. And so because every case is different, everybody's plan is a little bit different. Like we have like acute plans. Like if you came in and you're like, dude, I've had chronic lower back pain, I'm having sciatica, you're gonna need something a little more acute. You're gonna need to see us maybe 2 to 3 times a week for a few weeks, let's say 3 to 6 weeks. Okay. But overall maintenance, and in that 3 to 6 week period, Michael, we would stretch just about every single muscle in the body and we would loosen you up and realign you. Okay. But then we would send you into what we call our maintenance plan, which is anywhere from about 2 to 4 times a month. Okay. Or like I say, the best one is about one every 10 days, a stretch every 10 days, right? Will keep the body nice and flexible and loose and keep you light. Okay. And so as far as length of time, we can get through a full body stretch session in about 28 to 30 minutes. Okay. If you are looking for more of like a relaxation stretch, you want us to slow it down, you want more repetitions, and we can expand that to a 50 to 60 minute. But also, if you just need something quick, right? Like, chronic lower back pain. I ran a 10K this weekend. I just need something real quick before work, during lunch, after work. You can come in and get a 15-minute, we call them energizers. Okay. And we do those energizers for people who are in competition too, like before a race, before a cycling event, before a football game. Get an energizer. It warms the body up. It gets the blood flow going. And the average client, this is something that you're going to need the rest of your life. Like I always ask people, like, well, how long do you want to remain flexible and movable,
Right.
right? The
Yeah.
rest of your life. And so 2 to 4 times a month is about that frequency, which is also a huge difference from chiropractic and massage. In massage world, we see most people get massages once a month. In chiropractic, something's got to be wrong, and they put you on a treatment plan. Stretch therapy, whether there's something wrong, something's not wrong, you can come in and just maintain that vitality and mobility and flexibility.
Yeah. Well, you got me thinking. I think about my own like stage of life that I'm in, right? And in now my mid 50s, and I'm thinking to myself, if I don't start to whatever I start to do, I mean, should have been doing this even before now, but like I still look at it and go, the habits I start doing now are going to carry me into having good 60s, 70s, and 80s and beyond. But again, I think you see it so many times where again, as people get older, as I look at even within my own family and my parents and things like that, of course, age brings that atrophy that again that we're not stretching those muscles, we're not using those. Man, I'm sure what a huge difference. Probably a bad sign, Ben. I mean, tell me if this is a bad sign, because probably if I stood up right now and I tried to bend over and touch my toes, I probably couldn't do it. It's probably a bad sign, isn't it? There are some bad signs out there that we should be aware of.
Everybody's relatively different, right? Like I never compare like one person to another. Because your flexibility is relative to you, right? Like some of us got longer limbs than others, right? Some of us are just prone to be more tight. Like believe it or not, there are people that are just born tight, right? I wouldn't say necessarily as a bad sign. However, it's what I would encourage is, hey, let's see if we can improve upon that, right? Like, and that's what most people think. Like when they think flexibility, can I touch my toes? Right?
Right.
There's a lot more that goes into it than just being able to touch your toes. And the muscles work together, but they also work independently of each other too. Okay, so there is another test that we there another not a test but an assessment that we do, and it's called the overhead squat. So I make people stand up, put their hands above their head, and I make them squat down to see if they can get their butt all the way down past their knees and to sit almost like on their heels. Okay, and that in itself lets me know where you're tight, where you're weak. Like if some people did that, let's say you did that and your heels came off the ground, then I know that, okay, cool, you're tight in your Achilles and your calf area. If you did that and you sort of started to fall forward like this, okay, so you've got tightness in your hip flexors. If your arms fell forward, okay, you got tightness in your chest, maybe your mid back area. And so I like using that assessment better because that assessment is more functional, right? Like we sit down, we sit on toilets as we get older. Sitting and standing up gets harder, right? It also assesses our range of motion in our knees, our ankles, and our hips and our shoulders. Okay, so if you stood up and you did that and you weren't able to, then I'd say, okay, like we've got some things to work on.
Right. I'm tempted right now, but I'm like, I'm not going to do it right now, but I sure will as soon as we're done with this. I'm like, I got to figure that's really cool. I'm like, I'm wondering how many people are listening to this podcast or watching, like, all right, hit pause and doing this right now and going, all right, what happened there? But I mean,
Yeah.
it's super fascinating. I mean, this brings us to, I want to kind of keep evolving in the time we have our conversation and moving it forward. So, something we talked about, and I think this is a great time to kind of bring this in. Something we talked about just kind of off camera and before we hit the record button on this was just talking about how what you do in stretch therapy, uh, how that could really start to lend itself to being another a way to diversify your business. And I thought that was a really fascinating point because I'd never really thought about it in prepping for this podcast. I never really thought about for people out there that are business owners and they might be listening and thinking about, other opportunities to create different ways to kind of again diversify. You know, you mentioned that, and I thought, wow, that's a really unique thing. Talk to me about why you think this could be such a really good way to diversify an opportunity for someone possibly.
Well, so number one, we're in a time period where there's online education. More and more people are going out and seeking services, different types of services. And if you are a one-trick pony out there, right? Like the people who come to you are also going somewhere else to give their money somewhere else. So if you already have a business, right? Let's say you're a hairdresser, you already have a business, you have a client that comes to you every 3 weeks, right? And they sit down on your chair, right? There's that client is also most likely storing tension, trauma, and stress in their body, right? And because this is such a skill set that you can learn pretty quick, wouldn't it make sense to maybe offer that as well? You could turn $100 service into a $200 service versus looking for another $100 service, right? Or if you're an owner of a business, you can have a separate area where this is going on. Like in the last 10 years, I've taught chiropractors, physical therapists, med spa owners, salon owners. Hey, why don't you utilize that space over there in the corner, that extra room, and have stretch therapy going in there? Because these clients are coming in here for these services. And that lets us know they most likely probably care about their health. They care about the way they look, feel. And so why not have that right there and have a complete revenue center? Like I came into this thing from being a personal trainer. And when I first started, I just blended my services. Like it just made sense to train someone for 30 minutes and then turn around and stretch them. Right.
Right.
And so I could see a massage therapist doing that. I could see a hairdresser, people in the beauty and cosmetics fields doing beauty and hair field doing that. Right. People who are cosmetologists are actually licensed to touch. right? They actually have a greater license than someone who like me, who I don't necessarily have a license to touch. I'm just in a field where it doesn't require a license, right? And a lot of these people are already very self-aware. They already have a great, client interaction. And those are some of the things and skills that it takes to be able to do this. So why not? I mean, you could
Right.
easily increase your revenue 30, 40, 50% by just adding this to the
Right.
side or hiring someone who could do it out of your space.
Right. Right. Just again, a greater service offering. I love it. So we met about a year ago.
Yeah.
We met at our annual conference and were first introduced. And so again, shifting the conversation to more to the business side of things, you really kind of gravitated to, just the overall team-based business model itself. And so I know it's something that you were, looking for, something in your business that you were looking for. You found us, you decided, hey, listen, I'm going to check out the conference that you guys do. And from that point forward, it's been a really kind of cool and fun journey along the way. So talk to me about what has been for you over this last year as it kind of we're talking about the overall team-based business model and adapting that into your own company. What have been some of the highlights for you? What are some of the where are some of the wins for you? What was the draw for you? I mean, just the overview of this last year.
The draw for me was I've been in this industry about 10 years. And when I got in, I immediately went into business, and there wasn't anyone else who could show me how do I run or manage a stretch business. Like I studied the massage industry, I studied personal training, I studied different modality, different industries, and I just couldn't find it. And when I came across Neil on YouTube talking about like this structure, this system, like this way of bringing people together and having something more cohesive. That's what drew my attention, right? Like I've made a lot of mistakes in this thing, in the last 10 years. I'm sure a lot of business owners have.
I was going to say that's
Um,
a common phrase. Yeah, a common
yeah.
phrase.
And so when I came to TBX a year ago, and I got a chance to go to those different classrooms, it was just to be honest with you, I just never heard of these sort of concepts inside of commission-based businesses, right? Like teams working together, teams coming up with stuff, teams basically being able to profit off of the profits off of the business. I just never seen or heard anything like that. And the one thing that really drew me was like, hey, like these guys are like the people who work for strategies and the clients. I see a lot of like family, like they're like you guys are leaning on like things like compassion and working together, and that's not the industry. You know what I mean? The industry is like my clients, my money, like that's it, right? Like I don't give a crap about the next person, but that's not what you guys were doing. And so over the last 12 months, as we've gone through like the different tenets of what team-based culture means and implementing no compromise into our business and implementing the huddles, it has given us like a synchronization amongst our team that wasn't there before. But also, my business is franchised. I mean, I'm the main franchisor, and I held back on actually launching that franchise because I knew that we just didn't have a system in place that was duplicatable. Like that system was based off of me, and so now almost 12 months later, it's like, no, like I have a system where I can show or provide a potential franchisee and say, hey, look, this is how we do, this is how we manage our business, this is how we manage our costs, and this and I could show this to new potential employees. They're like, hey, here's the track. This is how you enter our company. This is how you grow inside of our company. You're not on your own, right? You're inside of a system, and the biggest thing is just really being able to provide benefits, being able to provide like just time off. Like I always tell my team, we're doing something inside of the bodywork industry that has not been done. Like those other guys, they don't pay people enough. There are no benefits. They don't make enough. Like, and the people inside the business aren't profiting off of the profits of the business, right? And so I'm really excited. We actually just converted and went team based 2 weeks ago, so we're still very new, and I'm looking forward to seeing, just kind of seeing how this thing turns out.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, as are we. And again, this would be something, it's a great excuse to be able to come back and do another, conversation with you and another, 8, 9, 10 months down the road, just to kind of see the progression.
Yeah.
As we start to get into kind of the end of our time, though, there's one, kind of one last thing would be in this past year, then again, this has been a journey, a series of changes and evolution in your company, as far as that goes. And what changes have you seen? Like, what's been the team's reaction to the progression? Because obviously, a year ago, probably your team was kind of in one place and kind of with the way of thinking, whatever that, whatever the culture was, and whatever you guys, yourself in leadership and the other key people in your team, the leadership teams, probably was heading one direction. But how has that even evolved in this process of change over this past year?
So, like I mentioned, we just as the entire company just went team based.
Mm-hmm.
We've been, talking to with our teams, and we've been implementing like things like huddles and productivity. And the one change that I see is that my practitioners are they're more involved in the business. Like before, things like productivity and rebook weren't a thing. And now, like I can ask anybody in the company and they know what the productivity rate is. They know what the rebook rate is, right? And so it gives them more responsibility and more I'd say responsibility and pride inside of what they're doing. You know what I mean? Before, I would say we didn't have a real way of tracking performance or metrics. It was sort of just what you did is what you did, and what you got paid is what you got paid. Now it's like, well, no, how productive are we? What's our rebook rate line? These are some of the main drivers of the business. And so it's given me, as an entrepreneur, a better opportunity to understand my business, but also it's given my staff a better opportunity to also understand what I'm looking at, right? Like we
Yeah.
always say as entrepreneurs, your team thinks that like they get a little bit and you as an entrepreneur get the rest of the money.
Right.
So
Right.
they're starting to get a better understanding of that, which is great
Right.
because as we grow, I'm going to need people who can understand the numbers. I'm going to need people
Right.
who can understand the system. So
Yep. Right. It's exactly. It's like getting everyone involved. So again, so there's that understanding, like you just shared. I love that. So as we kind of wrap our time up, probably some people out there just kind of wondering. It's like, hey, listen, I hadn't thought about stretch before. I hadn't thought about what those opportunities, could look like. I'm interested to maybe learn more about this. What would be the easiest way to connect possibly with you, or just get more information, on yourself, your business, these opportunities that might be out there? What's the easiest way to connect?
I think a lot of people out there have Instagram, and we have they can reach out to me on Instagram at the Stretch Loft. Or they can reach me out via email at ben@thestretchloft.com.
Perfect. Awesome. And if you are not a follower, Ben's got a great social media, great Instagram. How many followers you at now? What, like 800 gajillion or something like that? But what are you at? Like
I think
80,000 or something?
we're right under I think about 71,000.
All right, 70 plus thousand. Love it. It's a great follow. Check them out. Like I said, also way. We'll put all this information, of course, here, attached for you. So if you missed anything, not a problem. Just go into the links here, and you'll find out all of that stuff. But Ben, it's been awesome talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. And to everyone out there, thank you guys for listening and watching, and we'll see you at our next podcast.
Thanks again for listening to the Beauty Business Strategies podcast. If you like this episode, be sure to hit follow. To learn more about how strategies can help create more fun, profit, and growth potential for you, your company, and your team, we invite you to schedule a free 60-minute strategy session by clicking the direct link in the description of this episode.